Hello everybody, welcome to the Watches and Style channel. This is Young Brando. Today we're going to talk about the appointment of Frédéric Arnault as the CEO for LVMH Watches. Now, on this channel we don't really ooh and ah about the new generation of young horological leaders, and we're also not going to consider this appointment from the perspective of an ongoing succession battle within LVMH in terms of the ongoing struggle, presumably, as to which one of the heirs is going to succeed Bernard Arnault, the father, at the head of the luxury giant. Now, if you have a good guess in terms of the latter, you should probably call your bookie. I guess you will stand to make a lot of money on that. And if you're interested in the former, of course, you can go to one of the mainstream horological journalistic outlets, such as Hodinkee, Revolution, and others, where you can find various photographs where these journalists would be figuratively or quite literally sitting on the laps of these executives, young and old. Here, I'm going to talk about this appointment and the developments surrounding it from the perspective of the insight it can provide to broader trends within the horological industry, and in terms of how they perhaps mirror what we have already experienced within this century, in the 21st century, namely in the aftermath of the so-called Great Recession. But now let's try to understand what exactly took place within LVMH, within the LVMH Watches and Jewelry division specifically. Frédéric Arnault, who is the second youngest son of Bernard Arnault, and who had been the CEO of TAG Heuer since 2020, is now effective January 1st, the CEO for LVMH Watches. That puts him in charge of Hublot, TAG Heuer, and Zenith. This also means that he won't be responsible for the more jewelry-oriented brands that also produce watches within the group, such as Bulgari, Tiffany and Company, Chaumet, and others. Those remain the responsibility of Stéphane Bianchi, who is the CEO of LVMH Watches and Jewelry division, and it is to Bianchi that Arnault will report. So that puts Frédéric Arnault at the head of the watchmaking divisions proper within the group, which also involves some shuffling of these executive positions, some shuffling of the cards within the executive structure of the group. Julien Tornard, who had been the CEO of Zenith since 2017, is now appointed the CEO of TAG Heuer, and Benoit Declercq takes his place at the head of Zenith. And I believe he had been most recently the chief operational officer for Panerai and has extensive experience within LVMH's biggest rivals, especially for watchmaking, and that would be the Richemont Group. All of these CEOs, Julien Tornard, Benoit Declercq, and Ricardo Guadalupe, who is the CEO of Hublot, will be reporting to Frédéric Arnault, and Frédéric himself will have the opportunity, with the help of this position, to work more closely, more intimately with his father at the head of the group. Now, I look at this really in conjunction with what Frédéric has been doing and what his younger brother, Jean, has been doing in relation to watchmaking. And I think ultimately this is a decision that rewards the more heritage-oriented approach that Frédéric Arnault has taken as the CEO of TAG Heuer. Now, anyone might actually bring examples of what has been done at TAG Heuer that might not necessarily gel with this particular take. But I think what really distinguished TAG Heuer, you can say, both in their recent history, but also in the years since Frédéric Arnault has joined them in 2017, and since he has led them in 2020, it has been this approach that leaned heavily on the reissues of some of their most iconic models. The recent examples from the last year include the 60th anniversary version of the Carrera, the reissue once again of a unique and highly collectible version of the Carrera, the Skipper, and also the renewed and rejuvenated Carrera that is now offered with this glass box construction, which is, so to speak, an old new thing, right? It does bring something unique, something new to the model line, even as it still remains aesthetically oriented towards something that is inspired by that vintage golden age. Whereas his brother, Jean, has been at Louis Vuitton, spearheading really their renewal of the watches division. You will have probably heard more recently that they have rejuvenated, reorganized, refreshed their entire horological line and are now in the process of restructuring it around a streamlined integrated bracelet version of the tambour. Over the last year or so, Jean Arnault also has collaborated through their horological core, through their horological hub, through their high complications workshop, La Fabrique du Temps, with Evelyne Jantin, as you can see, to revive the Gerard Jantin brand, and also with Enrico Barbazzini and Michel Navas from La Fabrique du Temps. He has also begun the process of reviving the Daniel Roth brand as well, through the release of a line of subscription tourbillon watches that have been a distinctive icon, really, of both the proper name Daniel Roth and the brand as well. This was the first watch introduced, so to speak, in the name of the new Jaeger-lecoultre brand. It was made for the now cancelled Omni watch. It's for its 2023 edition. A new octagonal case that houses a minute repeater, jump hour watch with retrograde minutes. It also happens to be a Mickey Mouse watch, so kind of the best of all worlds when it comes to Jaeger-lecoultre watch and how it might come back to the scene. More recently, Jean Arnault also introduced Louis Vuitton's collaboration program with independent watchmakers. This will be through limited editions of quite singular timepieces. The first collaboration was with Recep Recepi, who is arguably the hottest independent watchmaker today. And it was this double-sided chiming chronograph sonnerie that happens to also integrate the logo of Louis Vuitton with Recep Recepi's brand Akrivia as well, which is first for both brands, both makers involved. This is, of course, also part of the larger program of prize that was introduced for this year, for which the finalists have already been announced. And it is something that basically is dedicated to reward independent watchmakers. And honestly, that Louis Vuitton prize for independent creatives, I believe it's called, seems to be largely a scheme of bringing in the new collaborators into the hub, into the Fabrique du Temps. And I think that will be also a way for Jean Arnault to select the next few watchmakers who will collaborate with Louis Vuitton in the same way that Recep Recepi did. So here you have the younger brother who has taken a lot of risks, who has leaned perhaps a little too heavily on a recent trend of resurgent interest on independent watchmaking. And we all know that independent watchmakers are arguably still going through this purple patch, which has been enhanced, exacerbated in the post-pandemic era, and which has brought them perhaps for the first time in recent history, this kind of, you might even say, quasi-mainstream recognition among collectors, and certainly a broader excitement that even makes its way into the larger conversations around luxury goods and around developments in horology that would be, in fact, published in venues such as Financial Times. All the while where Frédéric Arnault has been largely focusing on Tag Heuer, that he led, again, in large part, as one would lead a legacy brand, right? Producing, for the most part, rather faithful but also contemporary reproductions of iconic designs, as well as new watches that would somehow adopt and adapt the same kind of heritage-oriented approach in the making of something new, in opening more modern era. Now, again, I'm sure someone will point out the watches that were bedazzled with lab-grown diamonds, some of the smart or connected watches that Tag Heuer produced, or even some of the complicated pieces that they have released in the last few years. As you know, Carole Forestier-Casapi is still their technical director, so they make a lot of exciting and at times even groundbreaking complicated pieces as well. But by and large, I don't think anyone can deny the orientation of Tag Heuer, which has been, in my estimation, solidly grounded in their heritage. And now that I think about it, in terms of the shuffling of executive positions within the group, I would say the promotion of Julien Tornard from being the CEO of Zenith to becoming the CEO of Tag Heuer really evinces the same trend, right? Because ultimately, whether you look at the various iterations of the Zenith El Primero chronographs or the Defy Revival line, and even the collaboration Zenith undertook also not too long ago with Philips watches and the independent watchmaker Kari Voutilainen in releasing a limited edition, a very exclusive 10+1 piece run that ennobled their observatory grade, chronometrically precise 0135 calibers in watches that were very much in the vein of classic dress pieces. So as you can see, in each case, the achievements that were revived were much more heritage-oriented in terms of what Frédéric Arnault did with Tag Heuer and in terms of what Julien Tornard has achieved with Zenith, whereas whatever Jean Arnault has done in terms of bringing into the luxury folds some of the newer, younger, fresher developments from the realm of independent watchmaking, that seems to have so far been sidelined. And this reminds me of what happened in the wake of the Great Recession that was somehow sparked in the December of 2007 and really took a certain global turn with 2008. And I know loyal members of the audience will remember my previous conversations about how the horological industry responds to moments of crisis. And in that case, we had seen a very distinct turn to heritage-oriented, vintage-influenced releases. Think of the kind of excitement that was taking place around horologically innovative, technically complex pieces such as the Ulysse Nardin Fre de ric or the gyro-tourbillons by jaeger-lecoultre, or even, once again, that three-faced, three-dialed version of the reverso that jaeger-lecoultre released, the triptyque, which was the world's first three-faced watch that was powered by a single movement. From the complexity, from the boldness, from the experimentation of such pieces, we have suddenly turned in the manner of really a single product cycle from 2008 to 2011 to iterations, variations of a theme, such as jaeger-lecoultre's tribute to 1931 reversos, which, make no mistake, are beautiful watches, which happen to be some of my favorites, but they do most certainly belie that trend, that shift within the industry from experimentation and innovation to heritage, to basically safer choices that really rely primarily, if not exclusively, on producing various different editions and re-editions of iconic models. So to me, the appointment of Frédéric Arnault as the CEO of LVMH Watches and the way that that resulted in the shuffling of the cards within the LVMH group, even the way they brought on Benoît Declercq as the new CEO of Zenith. Again, most of his work, most of his recent work was with Panerai, which basically is, for better or worse, the prime example of how one continues to milk, and one might say in the most unimaginative ways, one of the biggest legacies in watchmaking today. So that's my take. I would love to hear about what you think. If you want to respond to anything I've said, or if you want to ask any questions, please do that in the comments. If you want to speculate on other aspects of this appointment, on what it means in terms of this dramatic succession battle with LVMH, of course, that's also welcome in the comments. Please hit the like button before you sign off. And I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, I'm here with watch-related content that only conveys passion for and knowledge of timepieces and nothing else. So your help and support in expanding, broadening this community would be greatly appreciated. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, wear and enjoy your watches.